Bismillah. Today we are going to start our lecture, which is reading skills. Uh, and this was the part of midterm, but actually, the university rushed into midterm early than the scheduled and decided time. So, this one topic left behind, and I would like to include this topic in the final term examination. Usually, the midterm examination is of 30 marks and the final examination is of 40 marks. But now that our mid was of 20 marks, so we will take our final to 50 marks. Okay, so this was the last topic in the course of midterm, and this topic is reading skills. Now the question arises that why we want to master reading skills, or why we want to learn about reading, when it is very simple. When you ask someone what is reading, he or she can easily answer you that question. Everybody knows, who is in school or in college, that what is reading. But the logic not lies in what is reading, but what reading is. We hear many things when we experience our daily life. We meet people, we chit chat, we gossip around, we discuss many things. That is not education. Okay? When you learn something as a subject, or when you want to study it, so then you must go in depth of that a topic. For example, when you go to a doctor and you tell him that I have these problems, so he diagnoses the diseases and then he cures that. He gives you some medicine. Anybody in your village or an elder person can tell you what the problem you have, but he cannot cure that. Only a doctor can, because they also know the disease's name, but they go in some depth and they learn how to cure that diseases. What are the treatment? What is the diagnosis? What is the treatment? And most of all, how he or she can cure you. So this is the beauty of education. When you study it, you go in the depth of that. Okay. So the today's topic is reading skills. So for everybody, even for us, reading is just very simple. You take a book, you hold it, you open it, you start reading it, and this is reading. This is very simple. That's why we didn't include any definition, because the definition of reading is very simple. But what lies behind is of interest, and that is its type. The first type of skimming. Now, what is skimming? Before we understand the topic, we'll go in depth of that, in depth of that word. We understand the meaning of that word, what that word means. So skimming is skipping something and reading something. Okay, when you step on marble, so when you take your steps, so you are stepping on each of them, but when you jump, you skip or skim 3 or 4 tiles. So that's skimming. And what is the scenario? The scenario is that, for example, when you enter somebody's room, you enter a library, you enter a shop, you enter somebody's room, or that is the room of your friend, and unintentionally you see a book. You take that book, you start reading that book. But why you are reading it? There is no pressure on you. Okay, there is no pressure on you. Nobody is forcing you to take that book and start reading it. You are not expecting any examination in that book. Okay, your teacher is not going to give assignment from that book. Nobody is going to take quiz from you in that book. So why you are reading it? Just out of curiosity. Humans are curious. They take the book, they start reading it, but they are not reading it fully. They are just glimpsing on the chapters, on the content page, on the summary, on the paragraphs. Why? Just to see that whether the book is of interest to him or her or not. That's the only reason why she had just taken the book from the table. So when she realizes that the book is not of interest to him or her, they leave the book. But when they realizes that yes, I like poetry and this is the book of poetry, yes, I like novel and this is the book of stories, and yes, I like autobiographies, yes, I like other things, yes, I like history. And if the book is of that nature, so he borrows it from his friend. If he's in shop, he purchases that. If he's in library, he also borrow that from the librarian. And then he decides whether to invest his time in that book or not. Okay, he decides whether to invest his time further on that. If on the first day, on the first hour, he takes the book and he starts reading it without skimming it, so what will he do? After 2 or 3 hours, he will realize that the book is of not interest to him, and then he will leave it. So he has just wasted 2 or 3 hours on that book. But when he skim it for interest, and he realizes that yes, it is of interest to me, then he borrows the book. Then he invests hours, days, months on that book. So that will be fruitful for him. So when you read quickly to gain a general impression as to whether the text is of use to you or not. Okay, as I told you, why I take the book? I take the book just because I want to make myself sure that yes, the book is of interest to me and I must read that book. Okay, so that's why we do skimming. The second point is you are not necessarily searching for specific items and keywords. Skimming provides an overview of the text. When you were about to take that book from the table, you didn't came to see or read that book. Okay, you came in search of your friend. You came to that shop to buy some groceries. You went to that library to meet the librarian. But unfortunately, unintentionally, or maybe or fortunately, you just took hold of that book. You start reading it, not reading, you just start skimming it. Okay, when I say reading, so here the type of that reading is skimming. You start skimming it, then you realizes that yes, I came from my friend, yes, I came to meet the librarian, yes, I came for the groceries, but this thing is also important, I need this book. Okay, I need to read this book. So that's why you borrow that. So skimming provides an overview. You skim that and it gives you the overview. Yes, you need to read that book. So that's why skimming is also the part of reading. It gives you an overview of the whole text, whether you will read it or not. So skimming is useful to look at chapters. Yes, when you skim a book, so where you will skim it, how you will do it, you will just glimpse on chapters, you will read the name of chapters. From there you will realize that whether it is of interest to you or not. Section, heading, summaries, and opening paragraphs. Okay, summaries. When you go into MPhil or maybe in BS, you start researching. So what will you do? When you start research and your thesis needs to be accurate according to which context, you cannot writing anything in your thesis which is not borrowed from some research papers or from others work. You must read other research papers and you will borrow material from there. Then you will paraphrase them and include it in your own research. But first, you will study other research papers. You will take the idea, you will take the words, you will take the direction from those research papers. So how you will find that those research papers? When you search them on the internet, on the Google, So what will happen when you give you a topic? Thousands of research paper will open in front of you. Then you will decide which to download and which to ignore. How you'll do that? You will just skim the summaries, the abstracts of each and every research article that is coming in front of you, and that will help you to finalize or to collect uh, related research papers which is of to your work. Okay. Now the same slide, the same topic continues. The purpose of skimming is, what is the purpose of skimming? The main purpose of skimming is to check the relevance of the text. Okay, whether the text is of use to you or not. If it is not of use to you, if it not is relating to the interest you are nourishing, so you will just leave the book over there. If it is of interest to you, so everybody would like to read the book that is of interest to him or her. Okay, so the main purpose of this skimming is to check the relevancy, okay. And the second point in the purpose is set scene for more concentrated effort, that is to follow. If the text is of use, if you realize that yes, I need that book, so then more concentrated effort means that you will invest your further hours on that, your further days on that, your further months on that. So this line means that, okay, if you like the text, if it is of interest to you, so you will just invest more of your time in that book. Now the second point, or the second type of reading skills, is scanning. Okay, this is opposite to skimming. In skimming, we are not searching anything in particular, but in scanning, we know what is our target, we know what are we searching for. That's why it's called scanning. For example, a teacher pastes your result on the wall, and he tells you, go and see your result. So when you go to that paper, you will put your finger to the first name and you will drag it down unintentionally, and your mind is searching one name, and that is of your own name. Okay, in the same scenario, you are moving your finger on all the names and numbers, you are looking to the whole page, but you are not reading that. Your mind is focused on only one name, and that is of your own name. When you find your name and result, and if you want to recall the students that were above you and their numbers, so you will fail to recall them because you are looking at that page, but you are not reading that. You are not reading the numbers, you are not reading the names, and now you cannot recall them. Okay, so that is the main reason. That is the main reason. The scanning is this is the scanning is the second type of reading skills. And in scanning, we know what we are looking for. So the result card or the result sheet was the first example I can give you guys in regarding to scanning. So for example, before your time, there were telephonic books. When there was a monopoly of pretty cell in every house in Pakistan, so in every house there were telephonic books in which you can easily search the numbers, telephonic numbers of your neighbors or the people you are searching for. So same was the process of the results sheet. You can do to the what you can do to the telephonic book. Okay, you move the finger on that dictionary, and you find you're finding the name of the person or the number of that concern you are looking for. Okay, also you know that whom numbers you are looking for, so you are looking for it quickly. Yes, in scanning you do it quickly. Why? Because you know what is your purpose, you know what you are searching for, you know what you are searching for. Yes, I have in mind, I'm searching for facts, I'm searching for names, I'm searching for numbers. I know what I'm searching for. That's why I'm quick. Okay? You see every item on the page. When you are scanning a page, so you are looking at everything, but you don't necessarily read that page. Yes? Because you are moving the finger very quickly, and because your mind is focused on that one, only one name. So that's why you are looking at that page, but you are not remembering that page. Okay? You are not reading that page. That's why your mind is not recalling it. So you ignore anything you are not looking for. So what happens that in that process you are when you are ignoring everything, so you cannot recall them. So thus you discover the keywords being searched for, you will unable to recall the exact content of the page. Clear? Define. Scanning involves searching for particular piece of information. When you are doing scanning, so you are looking for, you are searching for particular piece of information which is already in your mind, not the whole information but some parts of it. That's why you are scanning for the rest of information to be found. Facts, sometimes you are looking for facts. Example, sometimes you are looking for example. So for all these purposes we do what? We do scanning. Clear? Now the third part is light type of reading. Light type of reading. This is the third part of, or the third type of reading skills. Light type of reading. The first sentence says that reading for layer tends to be light. Okay, now layer. What is layer? Layer is a time when you are free. For example, not all of the day we are busy. In a day, there is some time when we are free, and that time we want for ourselves, for our refreshment. We want that time for ourselves only. So that's called layer time. And in that time, what we do, we don't go to the books of biology or the books of chemistry or the books of mathematics. Our minds is only attracted to the books we like. For example, if I ask someone, once I ask the whole class, what is your interest? Some say that I am interested in poetry, some say I am interested in novels, some say I am interested in history. So interest, when it comes to the interest of a student or a person, so it varies from person to person. So in that regard, they will be dragged to their own interest. So in our layer time, we will take the book we like. So when we read that type, when we read that book, so that is what type of reading? That is light type of reading. Why it is called light type of reading? Because it is not heavy on us. Because what we want, humans are very what? They are very selfish. When you impose something on them, so they get nervous or they just feel annoyed when you impose something on that. But when they do it deliberately or when they do it with your own accord, so then they don't feel pressure or any kind of anxiety. So that's why it is called light, because this type of reading, they are not taking it as a pressure and they are enjoying that type of reading. So that's why this is called light type of reading. So reading for layer tends to be light means that when you are in a layer time and you are reading things that is of interest to you, so that is not heavy on you, they are light on you. So read at the pace which feels comfortable. Okay, read at the pace which feels comfortable. What is pace? Pace is speed. So when you are at layer time, when you are free, so you are reading at a pace, which is comfortable to you. Okay, for example, if you are reading fast, it's okay, you are understanding and you are getting everything. That's why you are reading it fast, because it is a story or a poetry which is already known to you. There are not any terminologies which is not in your knowledge. So that's why you are comfortable and you are reading it fast. Read with understanding. Yes, whatever you are reading, you are understanding that. Skim the boring, irrelevant passages. Skim the boring, irrelevant passages. In your interest, in your interested, in the reading of your interest, there also comes some things that which seems to be boring, so you can skim that. You can skim that. It doesn't matter, because nobody is taking quiz in that. Okay. So you can skim that clearly. Now, at average light reading speed, 100 to 200 words per minute. An average light of reading speed is 100 to 200 words per minute. Okay, research says that when you are reading a thing that is of interest to you, so your speed can be 100 to 200 words per minute. Clear? This form of reading doesn't generally require detailed concentration. Okay, because you understand whatever you are reading, so that's why you are not concentrating. It doesn't require full concentration. Okay, you are whatever you are understanding, whatever you are reading, you are understanding. It doesn't matter if you are not concentrating on it fully. With a half or with a quarter concentration, you can get the idea. Okay, so that was the third type, light type of reading. Now we move on to the fourth type, which is detailed reading. This type of reading, in which consumes demands a high level of concentration. Now it is the opposite of light type of reading. In light type of reading, it was light just because there was no pressure in that. In detailed type of reading, there is a lot of pressure on you. You are feeling nervous. Sometimes you will go into anxiety or in depression just because of that type of reading. Because this type of reading is the reading of your academics, of your course. When you are taking out and you are reading the book of your course, whether it is of psychology or maths or of biology or chemistry, whatever you name that. So when you are reading that, this type of reading, that is consuming time from you because you are understanding whatever you are reading. So that's why you are giving it more time, and you are concentrating on it because you're terminating your concentration for all other things, and you're just focusing on that same thing. That is when you will understand that. Okay. In the second part, some material is not readily understood and so require a slow and careful analytical reading. As I told you that this type of reading is related to our course, so that's why sometimes comes chapter and material which is not easily understand by us. So that is why what we do, we just slow our speed. In light type of reading, we were moving on or we were reading at a speed which we were comfortable. But now we will slow down our speed just because that we get all the information and we can understand that. And careful analytical reading, we are carefully reading that so that we may not miss something which can come in the examination. If we skip that and it comes in examination, so we will just get a lot of loss. People use this type of reading unfamiliar words and concepts, scientific formulas. It can take up an hour to read a few lines. Okay. people People do this type of reading for unfamiliar words and concepts, scientific formulas. It can take up an hour to read a few lines of that. Okay, just because it is very difficult type of reading. So when you are new to that and the concept is unfamiliar to you, or this is a scientific formula which will require more time from you, more concentration from you, then will only you will learn that. And sometime for 2 or 3 lines, it can take hours from you. So that is why detailed type of reading is heavy and it requires a lot of concentrations from you. It requires a lot of concentration from you. That is the only thing which is very heavy. So we have gone through to 4 types of reading. The first is skimming, in which we just skim through passages, chapters, contents, just in search of what? In search of our interest. Okay, whether the book is of interest to us or not, whether the text is relevant to our interest or not. And second was scanning. In scanning, we knew what we are searching for. We have fully idea. That's why we were searching that fully fast, and we were moving finger on the whole page. We were looking at the whole page. But when we just searched whatever we were searching for, then we were not able to recall the exact content of just because we were looking at the page, but we were ignoring every other things that was not we were searching for, because we had a mind focused on something. The third was light type of reading. In light type of reading, what we do in leisure time, that is light type of reading. We just take the book of our interest, whether that is poetry, history, novels, whatever, etc. We are interested in. So we take those books and we read it out at our own pace, at our own speed. So all that thing is a light type of reading. And the fourth was detailed type of reading, that is related to what? Related to academics. It requires a lot of concentration, a lot of time from us. So we will continue this lecture in our second session. Okay. If you have any question, you can ask me in the second section or in our WhatsApp chats. Okay.